Nicholas.
What is up?
Nothing much, nothing much. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the virtual episodes. Both today's episode and the next episode will be virtual because the AC went out in the new office and it is horrifically hot. No one wants to have to go through that. So, we are going to go ahead and do it like this. But don't
Mhm.
worry, we still have two awesome shows in store for you guys. Lots of news to talk about today. We actually had to get rid of a few stories because there was so much news to talk about.
Yes, very big week.
And by the way, stick around for the box office because have you taken a peek at it yet?
I'm not.
It's wild. It's wild. Okay, so let's kick off things with our first story. Nicholas, what do you got for us first?
Yeah, first story comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. A new Jurassic World movie is in the works with David Koepp writing it. David Koepp is who penned the original Jurassic Park movie and its sequel with Spielberg.
Yes, so I found this very interesting. One, because they say if you read the article, there's whispers of a 2025 release date, and I'm like, are they about to start shooting this bitch? Like how
They got to
deep
do
into
that yesterday.
yeah, like how deep into the new Jurassic World movie were we and we didn't even know? Um, but yeah, I thought this was interesting because, obviously you're going to keep making Jurassic World movies if you're Universal. It's a huge money maker. I think each one in the new trilogy made over $1 billion.
Even being
Wild.
bad.
Hey, I like the first one a lot. I like the first
Oh, I like
Jurassic
the
World
first
movie.
one. I think the second one had some interesting concepts, but the third one was just a mess.
I agree. I agree. But I think it's interesting going back to David Koepp. I think that's really interesting, especially because the projects being very under the radar, and according to the article in Hollywood Reporter, there's no director set yet. But I mean, obviously Frank Marshall's involved. He's been involved in all of these films. And like I'm really just curious as to like who approached who and like what's going on with all that stuff. So
Hmm.
I am curious. And David Koepp, he's a very interesting screenwriter. He wrote the original Mission Impossible film. He wrote the original one of the writers in the original Spider-Man. He also wrote Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, but that shit happens. But I here's my question. Do you think him writing this project, and Amblin is confirmed to be producing it again, Amblin Entertainment,
Hmm.
over or under, I'll put the line at half, over or under 50% Spielberg directs this movie?
Ooh, under.
Yeah?
I'm going under. I think that Spielberg's at a point in his career where I don't think he necessarily wants to return back to go back to the well. I think he wants to sort of move forward and take things in new directions.
Correct. But let me run something by you. Someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, there's a new Jurassic World movie coming out." What's your first reaction?
Oh boy,
Then they say, "Oh, and by the way, Spielberg's coming back to direct." The
you have my
eyebrows.
intrigue.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, they raise up.
I
So
just,
and look, I'm not saying he is. I'm
yeah.
just saying the last two times this guy wrote a Jurassic Park movie, Steven Spielberg directed it.
Hmm.
So maybe they have a good relationship. Maybe something's going on there. I'm interested regardless, because I want to see kind of where they go with this, because it says it's a new Jurassic World movie, so they're going to keep that monocle and probably continue that world. So I wonder where you go from here. I just hope they
But
don't get back into like clone children.
what's interesting too is the article says that it would be like a new era, so it kind of rules out the casts and everything returning
Hmm.
per what the article's saying, but that could also just mean anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
You know,
S-
you know who I'd love to see direct a
Who's that?
Jurassic Park movie is you'll know his name. I don't know why I'm blanking on it. He was a big director with The Walking Dead.
Frank
Um,
Darabont.
Not him, the other one. He was the guy who started with he did the monster effects to begin with.
Oh, Greg Nicotero.
Yeah,
That would be a cool choice.
he always had some cool Walking Dead episodes. I don't know why I feel like he'd be an interesting choice.
Hey, yeah, no, I'd be very interested to see who they get as well. Um,
Hmm.
But yeah, what do you guys think about David Koepp returning to write a new Jurassic World movie? He was the writer of the original, one of the best movies of all time. Let us know in the comments below as we move on to our next story. Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Deadline. The Book of Eli prequel series starring John Boyega hits the marketplace.
Yeah, so this would be a quick one. I just thought this was interesting. The Book of Eli was a movie
Mm-hmm.
that came out in 2010, I believe, starring Denzel Washington, and it was like kind of a hit. Like it didn't make insane money, but
Mm-hmm.
for like a no franchise film, it really did kind of well. And for those who have seen the movie, I won't give it away here, but the twist of what's going on in that movie is rather interesting, and it's kind of it was a good story. And I think that the doing this is seemingly out of nowhere, and especially kind of John Boyega being attached. I think it's an interesting move from John Boyega because I know he kind of wants to, so suppl what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of put himself into the ground of saying like, I want to go in a certain creative place, a certain creative way, and do my own thing. He's did big blockbusters early, and he's like, look, it was fun, but I don't want to be kind of defined by that. So, kind of
Yeah.
going on this series is interesting. So, I just thought it was an interesting move for him. And, hearing this, you know, uh, if you didn't have interest in the show, does this spark interest in you?
Does it say who, like, where it's going to be played on?
No, hold on, let me pull it
No.
up here.
Yeah. I mean, like, I haven't seen the original Book of Eli. I think it's interesting with what John Boyega has said in the past about, kind of breaking away from franchises, but then going and starring in a TV show based on a movie was interesting. But I think if he's involved, there's probably going to be some creative pivot that he's probably pushing toward. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
great actor. That's just,
yeah, and also like yeah,
yeah.
it's technically a movie, but it was a one-off movie from 2010. So it's kind of
Yeah, it's
a
just a random thing. Yeah, it's not like it's
yeah.
a franchise.
And also the it says that they're shopping where it's going to go right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that the only detail they have is that it's set 30 years prior to the events of the first film, and that's right around the time the nuclear event happened. So it's going to be in the immediate aftermath of the nuclear event of
So
that
kind of
film.
like a day one type of scenario.
Yes.
That could be cool depending on the effects. The post apocalyptic genre, I think, is taking a big resurgence, especially with The Last of Us getting as popular as it has.
Hmm.
So I think that it makes sense that this is happening.
Yeah. No, that
Mm-hmm.
is awesome. Um, Yeah, no, look, I'm intrigued by the show. I'll
Yeah.
probably take a look at it once we start seeing trailers and seeing stuff, everything going on. And hey, maybe this will spark a rewatch of Book of Eli. Who knows? But what do you guys think in the comments? Let us know about John Boyega starring in a Book of Eli prequel series as we move on to our next movie. Nicholas, what do you got to us next?
Next story comes to us from Deadline. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are reteaming on a kidnapping tale Animals for Netflix. Matt Damon set to star with Affleck directing.
Sign me the fuck up. That's all you had to say.
Listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Damon and
Exactly.
Affleck are always a solid pair.
One, they are always a solid pair. Two, I think Ben Affleck is a phenomenal director. Anyone who watches the
Mm-hmm.
show knows that I think that. And three, interesting that they're going to Netflix after going from Amazon. Something that's also going to be interesting is their production company, Artist Equity, is producing, which means that a lot of below the line people are going to be getting bonuses depending on how well the film does. And to me, with the new streaming, with the SAG strike and they have to release streaming
Mm-hmm.
numbers and stuff, I think that is going to be a big thing as to why they went to Netflix, is because Netflix is the perfect audience for subscribers of a certain age to be like, oh, new Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie. And then it can really blow
Yeah.
up on Netflix and, be able to do that. I wonder if there's going to be a theatrical component to this. I would hope so, just because of who I am as a person. But at the same time, I would
Mm-hmm.
not be surprised since it's Netflix. Um, but yeah,
Well, they may push for that though, given I assume their company's set up in a way about box office percentages as opposed to
yes, but with that new
salary based on what
deal,
you said.
but with that
Yeah.
new deal with the viewership numbers, maybe they work out the deal from that
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. I also think that Ben Affleck directing a kidnapping movie, fuck yes. Are you kidding me? I
And
think that's
this is
gonna be
also coming on the heels of some very exciting news about The Accountant 2 also happening.
yeah, oh my God, dude, I totally forgot that they announced The
Yeah.
Accountant 2. It shoots this year.
Yeah.
Listen, Gavin O'Connor better be coming back to direct that because I haven't heard
Big,
otherwise, so he should be.
big week for Ben Heads.
Big week for Ben Heads, dude. I fucking love The Accountant. Okay, I'm gonna talk about that for a second. That movie has like a 50 something on Rotten Tomatoes. I love to watch movies that have like a 50 because it's right down the middle. You never know. That
Yeah.
movie's great. It's not just good. That movie is great. I
I
love it.
I I remember you when you went to, was it Comic-Con, where you got interviewed by Rotten Tomatoes
Yeah.
about like movies that are rotten, and you went on a whole rant about King Arthur Legend of the Sword.
Yeah.
I feel like The Accountant was like right in your back pocket,
Oh,
where it's like, I
I
can give
had
you another one if you
yeah, I
want.
had several ready to go. I had several ready to go. But yeah, it's like I thought that movie was great. And like I didn't think that we'd ever get a sequel, so I'm curious as to how that's gonna happen, but I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it at
Again,
all.
I very much enjoyed it, and it definitely felt like a movie that should get a sequel.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
I think what we need to build toward is getting a movie that features the accountant, the beekeeper, and nobody.
100%.
And let's just see what happens.
I listen, I would pay so much fucking money to watch that. I pay so much money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even funny. Studios
Yeah,
behind those movies. I would pay so much money to watch
make
that.
it work. Mm-hmm.
Please make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys think about Ben Affleck and Matt Damon teaming up for a Netflix film that Ben Affleck's going to direct and Matt Damon will star in? And what do you think of The Accountant 2 shooting this year? Fucking, I want to hear your thoughts on that too. Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Deadline. Matthew Vaughn, director of Kingsman and Kick-Ass, and the upcoming Argyle movie, which I'm sure everyone has seen the trailer for, um, did an interview with Deadline to promote Argyle, and they kind of go through the movie. It's a very interesting read, but at the end, very just sort of hidden, it just sort of talks about his upcoming projects. And there's a very interesting one that I will let Dalton run with.
It says here at the bottom, Mar Films, his production company, has several projects in development, including a musical written by La La Land's Damian Chazelle that Vaughn plans to direct. Fuck yes. Are you kidding
Mhm.
me? Are you joking? One, just a Matthew Vaughn musical. 100%. I would
I
love to
hope it's
see that.
Kingsman 3.
I, dude, yes. But then you add it's written by Damian Chazelle. I'm sorry. Thank you. Like, I feel like that was like a gift
Yeah.
for me personally. And look,
Well,
yes, this dives into questions as to like why Damian wouldn't want to direct the movie. I mean, I'm sure he got drugged through the fucking ringer about Babylon, a movie that fucking rules, by the way. And, maybe he's like, I wrote this thing, do you want to make it? Bring it on. I want more of this. I want all
mhm.
of this. Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a strategic thing. La La Land, I think, is still his best movie, and maybe he just doesn't want to sort of solidify himself in that direction.
True.
Like, just he doesn't want to just, Babylon critically was kind of all over the place. I enjoyed it a lot, but maybe he just doesn't want to give the illusion that he's just going back to what works instead of taking sort of big creative swings like Babylon did.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. I think you might hit the nail right on the head there. And also,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure directing a musical is fucking hard. And like,
Oh yeah.
and not only would it be, is going back to the well worth putting myself through one of the hardest jobs I've probably ever done? And I
Mm-hmm.
think you hit it right on the head there.
Yeah, and listen, I think that Matthew Vaughn, his movies, I've always very much enjoyed. I know that they kind of get sort of mixed reception a lot, but visually, I've always found them very intriguing. Um, the scale that he's able to do, the sort of showmanship and pageantry involved in that. So I totally see a musical with that style just working very well.
100%. I think it's almost a perfect marriage of musical with Matthew
It,
Vaughn's style.
it's almost, why has it not happened yet?
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. But yeah, what do you guys think about Matthew Vaughn directing a musical written by Damian Chazelle? I really hope this goes through. What a sentence. As we move on to our final news story of the day before the box office, Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Yes. Our last story comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. The search for Supergirl is on, with Millie Alcock and Meg Donnelly screen testing in Atlanta as finalists for the role.
Yes, so apparently Supergirl's down to two actresses, and those are Millie Alcock and Meg Donnelly. Both of these actors have been working prolifically in the past few years, a lot of mostly on TV. But
Yeah,
listen,
Millie Alcock most recently is House of Dragon.
yeah, yeah, and listen, the race is on. It's between these two, and
Mm-hmm.
we heard about things like this when the Superman casting was ramping up. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if whoever doesn't get the role ends up still ending up in the movie, kind of like the Nicholas Hoult situation.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, this just goes to show that I think this means that she's gonna be in Superman Legacy, and I think the article kind of hints at that as well. Because like, yes, it's James Gunn universe, and yes, he's gonna have a hand in casting everything. But I also think he wouldn't be casting for a movie that's coming out in 10 years, unless like 5 years, unless something is gonna involve that person soon.
Well, what's interesting too is you would think that, like whoever directs would want sort of relatively a say in it. So I think he's trying to do a lot of casting up front so that he has control. I mean, he's the studio head and CEO. His word is final regardless.
Yeah.
But he if that's the case, he doesn't have to sort of have that situation with the director who wants a say in the casting process, where you say, "Here's your Supergirl. Pitch me your movie."
Yeah. 100%. And like,
Uh,
and we've seen situations like that before. Sorry, I interrupted you, but like,
no, you're good.
Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman. Zack Snyder had cast Wonder Woman and Batman v
Mm-hmm.
Superman, and Patty Jenkins was vocal about how she didn't love the fact that didn't have that she couldn't cast the role, but when she was working on the project, she was like, "Oh, I see why she was cast." Like, and it kind
Yeah.
of became a marriage there. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's in charge of the creative universe and the overseeing thing, that there are certain pieces that want to come together. But I hope that when it comes to Supergirl's role in the Superman Legacy movie, that she actually has a purpose for being in the movie narratively, and it doesn't feel sort of shoehorned in just so the casting was done.
Listen, you
Because
say that.
yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to be like a post credit scene.
Well, and that's fine, even if it is like a tease, whatever be it,
Mhm.
just to set up the greater thing. But there's already rumors of several of the who's the group that they're doing a movie for? I can't think of their name.
The movie or the
But
show, the Creature Commandos?
no, there's a movie with, like, it was a random
Oh,
obscure
The
comic.
Authority.
The Authority. There's already
Hmm.
rumors of several members of the Authority being in. Nathan Fillion is playing a Green Lantern.
Hmm.
And that's not to say that he's the Green Lantern in the Green Lantern movie, but it's interesting to see how many Hawkgirl is in it. Just who's already been cast. I hope that there is a greater purpose to them being in it, as opposed to just serving quick, like, and I'm just solidifying this casting, and then we can move on.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of world building, just kind of establishing that
Mm-hmm.
the DCU world that he's creating is a world that already has a bunch of heroes in it. And
Yeah,
I think it's
Superman's
going to
not the
be,
first.
yeah, I think it's going to mostly kind of be establishing that. But yeah, I thought that this was interesting that it's coming down to just two people. And I feel like within weeks, we'll know who's playing
Well,
Supergirl. We'll know for
what
sure.
what's interesting about it too is I've heard great things about Millie Alcock's performance in House of Dragon. I believe there was a time jump involved, so I think she is sort of clear the schedule, unless they're going to do like
Ah,
flashbacks that would involve her. But my understanding is she's not necessarily in it as anymore. Like, I think they recast mid-season with an older actress for a time jump. because that would, I feel like, be of a concern, is trying to figure out that scheduling, because it's not like Game of Thrones is a small show. But
Yeah,
then again, Pedro Pascal is able to be in everything still while also being in The Last of Us.
true.
But what's also interesting in the article, Meg Donnelly, I guess she got big on a Disney show, Zombies.
Hmm.
Um, but apparently in the last few animated TVs and movies, she has been the voice for Supergirl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is an interesting thing. But with that, there's confusion, because James Gunn has sort of also said that if you're going to voice the character in animated,
Yeah.
you're going to play them in live action.
Hmm.
So I'm curious then if that would play a factor in to avoid confusion of, well, then are these canonical because she voices them or whatnot?
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good point. I also think when it comes to the other one's schedule, since both projects are Warner Brothers Discovery, they tend to be nice about being able to let them do both.
Okay.
And especially because like if the studio's paying for it, right? So it's like, hey, you casted me on House of the Dragon, you casted me as Supergirl. If you want me to do both, you're gonna have to work around, you're gonna have to figure this out for
Yeah.
me. And they'll typically make it happen.
I imagine David Corn Sweat was probably there to screen test with them, because I feel like that would be who they
Oh
need
yeah,
to.
that's an important dynamic.
Well, because if they don't have the plot or idea for Supergirl yet, there's no need to screen test at that point, you know. So seeing how she interacts with their cousins, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like that would be the important dynamic to showcase.
100%. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you guys think about the race for Supergirl coming down to Millie Alcock and Meg Donnelly? It's getting close, and we're probably going to find out who it is soon. Let us know in the comments below as we move on to the box office.
The box office.
Nicholas, please pull up our very wrong predictions.
All right, I've got it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Dalton, you had Mean Girls, Beekeeper, Wonka, ISS, and Origin. I
Okay.
had Mean Girls, Beekeeper, Wonka, Origin, and Godzilla -1 minus color.
Oh, Nicholas.
Oh boy.
So here's what I want to point out. As we
Mm-hmm.
always say, these are the Sunday estimates, and we'll put the final Monday numbers in the description below.
Yep.
This is one where the final Monday numbers could change the outcome because there's a $100,000 difference between one and two.
Oh wow.
And I checked with the trades too to see if anyone else is reporting this, and both Deadline and Variety are saying the same thing. Coming in first, The Beekeeper, only dropping 14% from week 2 to week 3, making $7.4 million.
Hell yeah.
Got to protect the hive. Uh,
The hive.
Mean Girls coming in second with 7.3. So there's that $100,000 difference, dropping 37% from week 2 to week 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wonka coming in third, making $5.9 million. Migration staying in the top 5, coming in fifth, making $5.1 million. And My Fatal Flaw, Anyone But You, staying in the top 5, only dropping 11% from week 5 to week 6, making another $4.8 million. Before we
Ah,
dive,
damn.
yeah, before we dive into more, a couple box office things I wanted to point out. Godzilla -1 made $2.6 million because of the re-release of the minus color. Aquaman made another 2.8. Getting a 43% increase was Poor Things because it also got released in more theaters since the Oscar nominations.
Yep.
And getting a 65% increase was American Fiction, also getting released in more theaters. The Oscar nominations will do that. Origin made another $1.4 million. ISS dropped 55%, standard drop. That movie is unfortunately kind of dead in the water. It made another $1.3 million. And let's dive into some box office totals now. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has made $412 million worldwide. It's only at 2 times its budget. It will probably be a slight money loser for the studio. Anyone But You is now at $126 million worldwide. God damn. Good for that movie. Migration has officially crossed $200 million at $206 million worldwide. It's almost 3 times its budget. Hey, let's go Migration.
That's a sequel.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Wonka has made $552 million worldwide. Jesus Christ. Good for
Out of
Timothée.
nowhere. Listen, some people just like a feel good movie.
Listen, don't doubt the director of Paddington, ever.
Listen. Timmy's got the star power too.
He does. He really does. Mean Girls has a total box office of $76 million worldwide on a budget of 36, so 2.1. It's got a little bit more to go to get profitability, but it's still 76 million more than it would have made had it come out on Paramount Plus. And
Accurate.
and The Beekeeper now has a total of $86 million worldwide. Please get to 100. I would love so much to see Beekeeper get to 100. But Nicholas, let's go ahead and do our predictions for next week because it's going to get interesting.
All right. So is Argyle the major release for that week?
All right, listen, that's the only big release, but The Chosen TV show is releasing episodes 1 through 3 of its 4th season in theaters, and last time they did that, it did fucking bank.
That is good to know. All right. I have my predictions.
Hit me.
All right. I'm going to go Argyle, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Beekeeper, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Mean Girls, number 3. Wonka, number 4. And The Chosen, number 5.
Okay. I'm going to go similar, but I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Argyle, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Beekeeper, number 2.
Yep.
Mean Girls, number 3.
Yep.
Chosen, number 4.
Ooh.
And Wonka, number 5.
All right. So we're just flipping 4 and 5 there.
Little switcheroo.
Little switcheroo, pull a fast one on me.
Yes. Guys, we'd also love to see your box office predictions. Please leave them in the comments below. And also, this week, be on the lookout for our next episode where we talk about our favorite Oscar snubs in regard to nominations. And this week, be on the lookout for the review for Argyle, which will drop at its review embargo date. And be on the lookout for a review of Sometimes I Think About Dying, the new film starring Daisy Ridley. And if it's not already out, maybe it posted the day before. Whoops. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next show.